Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology, and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com. Hello and welcome to SciTech Culture. My name is Ben Warner and I'm joined by my good friend and colleague Steve Kern to talk about this historic week that we've had where Trump's just decided to, throw another news story into the mix, but this time it wasn't anything, Russia related. It was about the US withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement, which stunned, I think, just about everyone. Although if you're following the campaign last year, he did say he was going to do it. But I think the reality of it actually happening has really stunned everyone in the world, I think. What was your first reaction when you heard this story when he announced it and it was actually going to happen?
How long until he really jumps the shark? Yeah. I mean, he just keeps going.
Yeah.
Just keeps going. I maybe actually will start building the wall. I think it was interesting to hear him rationalise it from a business perspective. But I don't think, or does he know the difference between politics and business? Or does he just think that good business is good politics?
But maybe,
what is he?
But maybe, I don't know, this is the bit that I couldn't quite understand, is that my understanding was that the US under Obama pushed for this agreement to go ahead. They were instrumental in drawing up a lot of the, conditions associated with it. And then Trump's out there going, oh yeah, it's a bad deal. They're laughing at us. They really screwed us over. Like, did he bother to read the history behind it?
We're struggling to talk about this because it just defies logic, and it plays straight into his political spiel. This is good for families in Pittsburgh, the coal miners. The reality is it won't make any difference for him, unfortunately. But I can't believe he could be so cynical to think that by publicly backing out on the world stage like that, I mean, that's really bad manners, if nothing else. It's shocking protocol.
I think that's something, and I think that's something that is probably worth pointing out here. It's probably, obviously, it's an impact on the momentum for doing something on climate change, but actually what was more significant was that it was symbolic of US withdrawal from the world stage, or the beginnings of it. And it was basically, a middle finger to the rest of the world from a diplomatic standpoint.
Well, that's right, and that's what is really frightening, not just for the rest of the world, but for the US. An isolationist US will, I think, backfire. Like they'll end up like going back into their shell, which maybe some people would think, is preferable, but it won't be good for the world. And the fact that he did it so staged. But it's not over even a matter of principle. I mean, America could have just ignored the Paris Treaty.
Yeah.
They could have said, yeah, and just ignored it if that's what he wanted to do. But he chose to make a show of it. And I don't know. I mean, maybe he's preparing for a second term as America's toughest, hardest, strongest ever president.
What was fascinating was the response from European leaders, particularly the French president, who delivered his response in English and utilized his own campaign slogan back at him. Again, that was like a retaliatory middle finger back to Trump. But the wording, of course, was interesting in that it almost sounded like him on behalf of the rest of the world was saying to the American public, "Yeah, we believe in you. We know you're not with this guy, but we'll get through this, and then we'll figure out what to do after whatever it is he's or if he moves on at some point."
Well, that's right. I mean, look, to be quite honest, I'm not sure that it matters whether America just pays lip service, as I said, and then didn't do anything about it anyway, or whether they choose to go out theatrically on this point. But it's just not right. I think it's very damaging for America. And is Trump so insular and arrogant that he thinks but
Yeah.
he doesn't care what the rest of the world thinks and just thinks that's great. That makes me look tough at home. I mean, that's really concerning.
I don't know if he has an understanding of what he's got at home, because he referenced Pittsburgh, but it turns out that Pittsburgh itself voted for Clinton out of that entire area during the election, and apparently they're like really big on renewables and clean jobs, so to speak. So he can't even get that right.
But that's what I mean. None of it ever adds up. Like, it looks good on the surface, but if you scratch anything that he does, it's really hard to see any value, even back to him. Except maybe through a lens of reality TV, which we keep coming back to.
One of the disturbing points, though, that came up was that, because Jared's on the outer at the moment, he's gone back to Steve Bannon, and that's what won the argument this time round. If that's the sort of seesawing that's going on in his brain, we're going to be in for a bit of a rocky road going forward.
And the other thing is, I can't remember actually if they've ever made anything of it, but did he ever travel anywhere else outside of the US before he became president?
He would have had to have gotten that Russian money by traveling, wouldn't he?
But I mean, what about Europe? Do you ever vacation in Paris like the Griswolds?
But I don't know. But that's the thing. Like, seeing him so obviously, hostile is a strong word, but diplomatically hostile to all these European nations, to the point, the shoving around incident, of course, takes the cake on all of that. But, that the fact that he's that blunt and that obvious about it is just odd, to say nothing else.
Well, that's how I would describe it. I mean, I certainly make no judgment on the political value with the climate change thing. I guess if you're a president and you believe your people don't want it, or it's a bad deal, or whatever you think it is, sure. But there would be a right way to go about doing this. And I just, it's really quite, dare I say it, obnoxious what he's done. And I just, it just makes you question all of his motives, because they all, as you point out, just don't make any sense.
I think a point here too is just it's about the fact that he's playing to his base only. It's very short-sighted, and depending on whatever estimates you hear, it's either 30%, 35%, or close to 40% or whatever. But in the process of doing something like this, where he might get those people, stick it to the French, that kind of rhetoric that those guys will be happy to hear about, he'll then have he could have anywhere up to 60 to 70% of the rest of the US basically pissing him off, and where is that going to lead? For him?
I don't know. I guess at this point, maybe it's worth raising. How do you think he'll go against Zuckerberg in the next election?
Yeah, well, with Zuckerberg, with the might of Facebook behind him, he won't stand a chance this time, will he?
There won't be any fake news. There just won't be any news of any other candidate.
Well, just to, I guess, to bring it back around, I guess we've spoken about the politics of it, which I think is probably more of what's going on here rather than the climate change part. But the symbolism for the climate change aspect of this story is interesting on a couple of fronts. It was I think, very reckless of him to do this from the US perspective. But I just wonder if there was something of a consolation prize to this, in the sense that all those other countries basically in unison have come together and rebuked what he said and are basically on the same page with it.
Yeah, well, I think so. I mean, honestly, I don't think it actually matters whether or not the US is in or out, because in the past they've ignored, agreements like this and just carry on. Everyone just carries on. The world doesn't stop. But it's good to see the rest of the world, get together on this and make a stand. And I think for once it's probably about time we say, well, we don't need the US. Sure, if we need to get CO2 levels down to a certain level, we need everyone in the world working together. But, sometimes you can just make a stand. And if the rest of us can reduce our consumption or our output of CO2, that's a great start. So maybe we should just use Trump's behaviour to make ourselves much more confident in what we're doing and just press ahead. Without the US, you'd probably even be able to negotiate an even better outcome, at least for the nations that are participating.
Yeah.
So great. Get him out of there and let's go for it.
Well, that's a nice positive way to to end this topic. So we might wrap it up there, Steve. We'll circle back to it. I have a feeling we'll still keep talking about Trump over the next little while anyway, on a whole vast array of topics. And the one that I'm looking forward to next actually is the supposed blockbuster testimony of the fired FBI director up next week. Should be good viewing, good reality TV viewing.
It's all covfefe.
Absolutely. All right, so don't forget to check out our website, scitechculture.com. You can check out all of our links and subscribe to our channels there, so hope you enjoy all of that. So that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.